Hi, my name is Eamon, and this is an origami bowl that I designed. This tutorial is fairly advanced, so you probably want some experience with origami before you try it, but even if you don't have that, I would still encourage you to give it a try. This is the first tutorial I've ever made, so it kind of sucks, and I would appreciate any feedback, but I did my best, and I hope you're able to follow along okay. So for this fold here, I used a sheet of paper that's about 15 or 16 inches to a side, or about 35 to 40 centimeters. You could probably get away with about 30 centimeters or 1 foot, but I wouldn't recommend much smaller than that. To begin, we're going to use a sheet of paper with a different color on each side. For this tutorial, this brown will be the bull's skin, and the blue will be the horns. Starting with the skin side up, we're going to fold along each diagonal, like so. And then we're going to pick a corner to be the head. In my case, I'm going to use this top corner to be the head of the bowl. Our next step is to fold the angle bisector of this edge in this diagonal crease. So we're going to bring this edge right into the center, like so, and we want to crease it very sharply. The next step is to fold this corner to show the halfway mark of the paper. We're only going to fold until it intersects with this angle bisector because we're using it as a reference point. So I'm going to fold it in half, but I'm only going to crease until I reach the angle bisector here. Once we unfold, we now have a reference point. This intersection is where we're going to fold this diagonal line to be the reference for our model. So at this intersection, we're just going to fold a diagonal line right down and crease sharply. Now we have our first reference point for the model. Now that we have this reference point, we're going to begin pre-creasing. So to start, we can rotate the paper and we'll bring this corner to the end of this diagonal that we just created. You should also double check that it intersects here with this diagonal and the diagonal along the center of the paper. This crease is going to go all the way down the sheet, like so. We're going to unfold, and we're going to do the same thing on the other side, bringing this edge to this end of the diagonal. Again, checking that it intersects here. Now we can turn the paper over. We want to take the horizontal creases that we made and we want to bisect them here, 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 and here. So to begin, I'm going to fold a crease that intersects this corner here and that brings this diagonal crease to align with this horizontal crease. I'm going to fold all the way through and then unfold and repeat on the other side. So again, it will intersect all of these creases and it will bring this diagonal edge to this edge. Now we're going to bring this edge to the diagonal and repeat the same on the other side. So again, now we're going to flip the paper over this way with the head in the bottom right corner, and we're going to look at these horizontal creases here. We want to fold this edge and this edge of the paper so that these two edges match up with those horizontal creases. So to start, I'm going to take this side, I'm going to fold like this, unfold, and then again repeat on the other side. Now when we look at our sheet of paper, we can see this diagonal that we created as a reference point, along with this triangle, and these lines that we just created. So where these lines intersect with these lines, right here and here, we're going to make another diagonal fold. So we're going to take our sheet of paper, we're going to line up those intersections here and here, and we're going to fold that point and crease sharply. You may also notice that it will bring this line to the actual center line. Once that's done, we're going to flip the paper around, and now you can see this crease line that we just made, and what we're going to do is we're going to bring this edge of the paper up to that diagonal crease line, just like this, and then again on the other side. So again, here's the crease line we just made, we're going to bring this edge to it. Now what we want to do is we can look at this little square that we made here, and we're going to fold it in half all the way down the edge of the paper on each side. So we're going to take this edge and we're going to bring it to this horizontal crease over here. Unfold, and then do the exact same thing on the other side. Now we can unfold, and then we're going to turn the paper over, and where those two creases we made meet the edge, we're going to fold a diagonal down, and then again we're going to take this square we have and we're going to fold the diagonal of it. I'm going to turn the paper over, and then we're going to collapse a preliminary base along this corner of the paper. So we're going to bring these two edges in and then squash this flap that's created down into a square. Now that we have this, we're going to look at this diagonal crease here, and we're going to fold this flap back along it. Now you can see here there are two diagonal crease lines. We're going to take this farther one and we're going to fold the sheet back along it, creating a new crease in this blue part of the paper. We're going to repeat this up here. So again, here's our crease line, and we're going to fold down along it and extend it into the blue part of the paper. From here, we can take these two flaps. Once we have those flaps, we can see that this brown part of the paper is creating a 45-degree angle. So we're going to take this edge and we're going to bisect it through all of the layers until we get to about the halfway point. And if you're using a thicker paper, this might be difficult. But you're going to crease it as sharply and as neatly as you can through all of the layers. And then unfold, take this top edge, and do the exact same thing. So again, crease as sharply as you can, try to get past the halfway point, and once you've done that, you can rabbit ear them and bring this flap together, creating a half a square, and you want to make sure that it can bend and fold in both directions, like so. We're going to repeat this on this top edge, so again, we're going to bisect through all of the layers as neatly as we can. Try to get past the halfway point. Unfold, do the same thing to the other edge. And then rabbit ear them, create this half square flap, and make sure that it can fold both directions. Now we can unfold the whole model like so, but leaving these in place. Now we're going to take these horizontal edges and we're going to fold them in, and we're going to fold this flap that's formed to the side. Now we're going to take this corner flap, and along crease lines we already made, we're going to tuck it in inside the sheet. Once that's done, we want to take this flap and we want to bring this edge to this edge, like so. And that'll give us the creases we need to unfold, open this out, and squash fold that flap. Now we can take this flap and we can squash fold it again. We're going to take this, we're going to turn it over like this, and now you can see that we have this crease line and this crease line. We want these crease lines to extend into this side of the paper, which currently doesn't have them. So what we're going to do is along this crease line here, but only in this part, we're going to fold over, allowing this flap to come free, and we're going to crease sharply. We can unfold and repeat on the other side. Just like that. Now we can unfold, turn it back over. We're going to take this corner, and where you see these two crease lines intersect the edge, we're going to make a fold that goes across the two, just like this. We can leave it, and what we do is we can actually open the entire paper up and then flatten along these two crease lines on this side and these two crease lines on this side. If we open up the entire model and let it lay flat, it will look something like this. From here, we can do reverse folds along crease lines that we've already created so that we can collapse the model in. So we're going to reverse in, reverse back out, like that. And again on this side, fold in along these crease lines, and then fold this back out to create something like this. Now, if we take this flap and we open it up, you'll notice that there are some pre-existing crease lines. So first, we're going to fold along this crease here, like this, and the model isn't going to want to lay flat. But you notice it will want to collapse along this crease line here. So we're going to collapse it along that crease line, and then along this center line here, you'll get something like this. And then we can bring this back down one more time. So now this will want to lay flat, and we'll bring this back down. So again on the other side, we're going to take this flap, we're going to fold along this crease line, which will make it want to fold along this crease line. It will collapse along this crease, and then we fold down along this crease, push this flap down, and then flatten at the bottom here. Now, if we open up inside here, we'll notice that there are these crease lines here. So what we want to do is we want to fold along those. So we'll fold here, and you notice this crease intersects with that edge, like so. And then this one will not reach the edge of the paper. But what we can do now is we can create this flap in the middle. We can collapse it, and then we can flatten the model like this, and you'll notice this will poke out. So what we do is we fold along this crease line and this crease line along this edge. We create a new one here, and then we can flatten the model again. So I know that was kind of hard to see. So again, on this side, you have this, and when you open it up, you have this crease line here, you have this crease line. So you're going to push out this center, like so, and then fold up, flatten everything again, and then reverse fold this part back inside, flatten that, and then flatten at the bottom. So in these next few steps, it's going to start to get kind of weird. The first thing that we need to do is we're going to fold all of these layers over to one side, and that's going to let us open this up like this. So if you missed it, again, you're going to fold all these layers over, and you reach a point where it can't lay flat. So you're going to pull this over and then swing what's going to be the arm up to the right like this. Now what we can do is we should have this crease here, breaking this in half. So we're going to bring this edge up to that bisector. Again, keeping multiples of 22.5-degree angles. And we're going to fold all the way to here. Now to flatten it, we're going to make an edge that lies along this center line. So we do that. And the problem is that once you get to the end of the paper, it doesn't want to lay flat. So you can see there's that kind of 3D edge there. So what we do is we fold it so that we create an edge that lines up with this line, just like this. So now we can close this, we can fold over all these layers, and we'll repeat on the other side. So you fold over these layers, you fold over and you realize it can't lay flat, so this is going to swing up and to the left now instead of up and to the right. And then we're going to make a crease that brings this edge to here, like this. And then once we get to the end, we're going to make an edge here that lines up with this center line. And then we're going to extend the crease here. It won't want to lay flat for us. So again, we just make an edge that lines up with this edge. Now, we can fold this back down and bring it again so it's symmetrical. This next step can be a bit tricky. What we're going to do is we're going to take this edge and we're going to essentially push it inside. So you can see everything unravels a little bit. I push it in, and then I reverse the directions of the creases, and then you can push everything so it lays flat again. We do this because otherwise the color on most of the bowl would be blue instead of brown. So now we flatten it, and again you're going to open this up, take that point and push it out. We reverse the directions of these creases, and then we can flatten it so everything is back to how it should be. From here, what we're going to do is we're going to take this layer and we're going to push these aside so that we can open it out like this. It doesn't matter if this doesn't lay flat. Our goal here is to look at this crease line here and make a crease line that extends all the way to the edge of the sheet, like this. So what we're going to do is we're going to start to fold along that crease line that's already there, making sure that we keep this little flap in line, like this. And then once that's been taken care of, we can just extend this crease line all the way to the edge inside here. Now we can undo that. We can bring these layers over, and we can close the model again. Now we'll repeat on the other side. So again, we're going to open this layer here, like this. We're going to take this crease line, or if that crease line isn't there, you can take this edge and line it up with this crease line. So we're going to do that. We're going to bring it all the way to the edge, like that, and then we'll unfold. Now we can bring it again back to normal. In this next step, we're going to open up the right side again, like this, and now we're going to take this crease line, and being careful that we keep this whole assembly as one layer, we're going to fold a mountain fold along this crease line, like this, and being careful that we keep all the other layers in place, we can bring this edge we just formed to meet with this edge. So we'll bring them together. We'll make sure that everything wants to close here like this. we can bring this flap down, and then you'll notice at the bottom it doesn't want to lay flat anymore. So we're going to create this new crease line just like this. So again, on the other side, we're going to open back up to this layer. We're going to take that crease that we just formed and we're going to make it into a mountain fold like this. And then we're going to bring it to this edge of the paper, making sure all the other layers stay in place like that. And then we can bring the arm flap back down and then flatten the lower edge of the paper. Now we can begin to form the upper body of the bowl. We will start by grabbing this flap here along with these two arm flaps. When we pull them apart, there's a crease line here on both sides that it will want to fold along. If we look carefully, we can see this crease line here. We want to bring this edge to that crease line on all four sides. So 1, 2 to make it symmetrical, and also on the bottom. And then again, 3, we're going to bring this edge to this crease line. 4. And now we can flatten it. And you'll notice that the head and neck have shifted over and gotten longer. Now if we flatten it, we can begin to form the shoulders of the bowl. So you will notice that this flap is allowed to move freely. What we can do is we can pull it up, take this corner, and bring it into the center, allowing this half square flap to flatten like this. Now, if we push this in, fold along this edge, and bring it down, we have started to create the shoulders. So again, on the other side, you open this flap, collapsing that half square flap. You fold this back end of the legs in, and then you create the shoulders and flatten. Our next step is to take what's going to be the horns and the ears and create a petal fold on this flap here. So we can bisect that angle and then release the trap paper and form a rabbit ear along with this flap here. So now we have the ears and the horns, and we can repeat that on the other side. Once that's done, you want to fold up the ears as far as they'll go, along with the horns. And then you can open up this first layer here and bring it all the way out, like this. Now, if you fold back the ears, you'll notice that they are 2 layers wide instead of 1. So what we're going to do is we're going to fold in along this middle edge and create a rabbit ear that goes to this corner of the shoulder. Now when we fold back the ear, it's 1 layer thick and the shoulders are now wider. If we fold the entire model in half, like this, we can do the same thing to the other side. So again, you're going to open, bring this layer out, fold the horn and the ear back, and then you can make a rabbit ear that narrows the horn and makes the shoulder a square shape. Now we need to focus on forming the hind legs. So we can open up the model, letting the flaps fall to either side. Turn it over. And now if we bring this back flap up, you'll notice there's a point where there's a corner here. So what we want to do is we want to make a crease that intersects that corner on both sides, like so. Now, if we rotate it to the side, we can make a crease that is parallel to this edge and intersects this corner here. So if we turn it around, it might be easier. And we can make that crease on this side. And again on this side. If we fold the model back in half, it can help us make sure that both sides are even. So if one side is uneven, you can just bring it up a little more to match the other. Once we have those creases, we can open the model, unfold this flap, fold it back, and then close sync along the creases we just made. So it doesn't matter which side you keep these layers inside to, we're just going to open it on either end and fold it in like this. So again, on the other side, we just made these crease lines, and we're going to perform a close sync along them. Now what we want to do is we want to go to this corner and we want to make a crease that is perpendicular to this edge here. So we're going to go to this corner and we're going to make a crease where this edge stays in line with itself. We're going to crease as sharply as we can. Once that's done, we're going to bring this edge here over to this edge that we just created. So we can bring it over just like this. And we want to crease as sharply and as accurately as we can again. Now, if we go on top and open the model up, we can see these two creases right here. What we're going to do is we're going to perform a reverse fold along them, like this. But the model isn't going to want to lay flat. So we turn it around and we make a crease that is in line with this edge here, and we extend it until we open up this new layer, and again on this side. So now if we turn it over again, we can make a crease to flatten connecting those 2 points like this, and if we extend it all the way out again, we can turn it around and we have one more opportunity to flatten and extend it. So once this is done, it will want to lay flat, and we have now created 2 legs, like so. Next, I'm going to zoom in here on the legs, and if you notice, there's a crease line that runs along here. So if we look at that crease line, we can bring this edge up to that crease line. Like so. And once we've done that, what we want to do is we want to go in, open up along that crease line, and flatten the paper to make what will become the hoof into a point rather than a blunt edge. So again, on the other side, we turn it around, we notice this crease line that's already here, and we can fold this edge up to that crease line, like so, and then open along that crease line and flatten to create a point. Now we can close it. And once we've closed it, we can start on the tail. So we're going to take this edge, both layers, and fold them to this edge here. So we'll bring them together like this. Make sure that we crease sharply and accurately. And then we can perform a reverse fold to bring this edge wrapping around so that the entire body is brown, like this. From here, we want to take this flap, which will be the tail, and we want to thin it by half, so we're going to fold this edge to this edge. Once we've done that, we can unfold it, open the model, and we can squash fold to flatten those creases, like so. Once we have that triangle, we can close it back up, and then what we want to do is we want to perform an inside reverse fold along this edge so that we can bring the tail to a more natural angle. So we're going to fold on both sides along this edge, and then we can close it, and if we want to adjust the angle of the tail, we can either slide it up or down. So I'm going to try to keep it in line with this line for now, but it really doesn't matter. So now at this point we have the two arms, we have the shoulders, horns, ears, head, and tail, and legs. So we're going to start to form the hind legs. So what we're going to do is, you can see there's this crease line and this crease line along this open edge here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this leg, we're going to valley fold along this first line, and then fold back down along the other line. We're going to repeat that on the other side. So again, bring the leg up on this line and down on this one. And then you want to take this middle layer here, you want to untrap it, and you want to put it in the center so the model's symmetrical. From here, you can open up this flap a little, and you want to bring this edge to this crease line, just like this. And the layers will probably be kind of thick, but it doesn't matter if it's completely accurate. So we're going to fold as sharply as we can, and then unfold. And what we want to do now is open back up the legs like this, and then we can fold in along this crease line on this side, collapse the leg back down, and then we want to tuck in the paper here until we reach this point. So we'll look something like this. And then we can recollapse the leg and flatten the model. So you can see here, now we've thinned out this leg on the outermost layer, so we can turn it around and repeat the process. So I'm going to open up, I'm going to fold this edge to align with this edge, and tuck it in. And once I have it creased nicely, I can unfold it, I can tuck in along that crease I just made, and then I can bring this crease to this corner here, as far as it can go. Just like this. And then I can recollapse again and flatten the whole model. So now you can notice the outside of the legs are thinned out, but there's still this inside middle flap. So all we need to do is to go inside and just fold along these edges out here. So we'll look something like this. And then when you close it back up, and you make sure this is tucked in, you can see that the legs are now thinned out in the rear. So now you can see we have these two little corners on either side that sort of stick out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the model, and then I'm going to fold this flap in as far as I can to thin out the stomach. So you can see I've opened it out as far as I can, and now I'm just going to create a crease line to bring it in here. So you end up with something like this, and then again on the other side, open it up and bring this in as far as you can, like this. Now we want to focus on the head. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to fold 1, 2, 3 layers out, and you'll notice that it won't lay flat. What you're going to do is you're going to take this corner of the horn and you're going to bring it to this corner here. So it should look something like this, and then you can flatten this layer inside, and then you'll notice there's a little triangle created here, so you want to flatten that, and then bring back down this layer, and now you've created what's going to be the cheek, and you've allowed the horns to be at an angle where you can change the color of them. So again, on the other side, we're going to open 1, 2, 3 layers until it won't lay flat, and we're going to fold this edge up and bring this tip of the horn down to this corner here. And again, flatten this layer, allow this little triangle to form and flatten it, and then bring back down this layer. What we want to do next is we want to take this edge here and fold it out as far as it will go, like this, and then do the same on the other side. So turn it around, put your thumb under here, and bring it out as far as you can. Next, we want to change the color on the horns. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the ear here and fold out this layer just a little bit. So now you can see this triangle shape here. So we're going to fold the bisector of this angle and this angle here. So it should look something like this. So now you can see we've made the horn blue, so we can collapse it back along pre-existing crease lines, making sure that it still lays flat. And you may have to collapse it just a little bit in here, and it'll get a little wonky, but that's okay. So like that. And again, on the other side, we're going to open up this triangle. We're going to bisect these two edges to bring out the blue layer. And then we're going to flatten the model again as neatly as we can. Now what we want to do is we want to focus on this crease line here that's perpendicular to this edge. We're going to fold in along it, and then you'll notice at a 45-degree angle to that crease is another set of creases, although it might not go through all the layers. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring the head up along those crease lines, allowing the back layer of the horns to tuck in behind. Once we've lined up all the layers and flattened it, you should have the shoulders and the head with 2 ears and 2 horns. Our last step before we begin shaping is to make sure that the ears are the same color on both sides. So to start, we're going to go to this first layer here, and we're going to squash fold the ears into a square. Now we can petal fold them upwards, . And you'll notice that one layer is blue on the outside. So we're going to open up the model a little bit and just wrap that paper back around to let the ears be brown on all sides. And you may notice that it won't quite want to cooperate. So what we do is we tuck it behind this blue layer like so, and then just fold it back. So again, on the other side, we're going to open up the ear, squash fold into a square base, petal fold upwards, like this, and then we can take this layer and we can wrap it around as best we can. And while it won't want to wrap around this blue layer here, we can tuck it behind like this. Before we begin shaping, the last step is to create the snout. So we're going to look at the head straight on, and we're going to fold this corner to this line here. We're going to crease as sharp as we can through all of the layers. Once we've done that, we can unfold and we can open up the whole front of the face and perform a sink fold along that crease we just made. So you should get something like this. And then you're going to sink it inwards. Once you've done that, you can open up the sink like this. And then fold this down, because what we want to do is we want to bring this flap inside this edge, doing a closed sink. So what may help is to take these two edges and to fold them in like so. And it doesn't matter how neat it is, as long as it won't show below this rectangle here. So we're going to fold them in, and then we're going to perform a closed sink and force it inside the snout. So as you can probably tell, I was having a lot of trouble with that step. What I find helps is if you actually open up the entire face and kind of wrap this rectangle around like this, and then collapse all the layers back to get a rectangular snout. Now we can flatten everything and close the head back up. And other than shaping the legs and the body and the tail, your bowl is pretty much done. So I'm going to try to speed up showing the shaping process a little bit. So I'm only going to show one of each limb, and then I'll show you the finished product. So first, for the legs, you're gonna want to bring a thin part of the paper parallel to this edge just about down, and then you're going to make a rabbit ear to form the upper legs, like so. Once you've done that, you can reverse fold a little bit behind this corner up like so, and then you can bring this part of the leg back down, allowing just a little bit to hang behind in the front. So when we do that, it should look something like this. Our next step is to go to the front of the leg and open up along this layer here. Now we're going to perform a reverse fold to bring out the hoof. So it should look something like this, and from the side, like this. And you may have to open up the paper a little bit and close it back again. But you'll end up with a hoof, like I have here. Now, if you want, you can open up the hoof and reverse fold just a little bit inside in the front, and then take the little corner that you made and just tuck it in. You can add a little more shaping, such as curving the back here and the front. And that's more or less how you make the back legs. Now the front legs are much easier. We're going to go to this layer here, and we're going to fold out as far as we can. Next, we can just bring this flap up so that the center still lies along this center line here, like that. And we're going to flatten, and then rather than bring it straight down like this, we're going to bring it down so that there are two lines at a slight angle. So one, and then you can just flatten it and it will automatically create line number 2. So now we have something like this. Now to make the hoof, we can open up here, and rather than reverse fold, we can simply slide this layer up and create a hoof, like this. Now if we go back here, we notice there's free paper so that we can tuck this in and split it into 2 to give it a more natural shape. So again, perform that reverse fold and fold in the excess corner that you created. Now we just want to give some shape to the arms, so I like to curve in on one side and then on the other, going a little bit through this intersection here. So you can see here we have the finished arms and legs, and again, you don't have to do it exactly like this, but I like to end up with something kind of like this. Before we move on to the head and shoulders, we can do the tail really quick, and it's pretty easy. You can open like so, fold out these 2 layers, and just bring up a little bit to form the tip, and then flatten, and you can adjust the shape of the tip by just sliding it back and forth. So once you have it somewhere you like, you can bring it back a little bit to actually make the tail longer. So you can see, just like that. And then just fold it in half and curl it upwards. So it doesn't have to be exact. It might not actually lie flat, but you should end up with something kind of like that. Now, this step is optional, but I like to do it because it closes the back and locks in the shoulders. We can take one of these flaps and just tuck it inside the other. So now, our head is locked together much better, and so is our shoulders and the rest of the body of the cow. Now, shaping the horns, you can make it easier by just rabbit earing this and giving you a little more room. And you can do the same thing on this side. So again, you can just rabbit ear it, give yourself a little more room. Easy. And then pinch them in half, curl them up, and bring them out. Again on this side, just pinch it in half, curl it up, and bring it out. So now you have the horns. You can open up the ears any way that you like. So something like that. And again on this side. And then what I like to do is I like to take these two layers and fold them in just a little bit, and that will help lock the ears out and also to give some shape to the face. So again, now what I like to do is I like to make a crimp with this edge here being a valley fold and then mountain folding here. So that should look something like this. And it doesn't have to go all the way to the edge, to the center, because that actually help it to be 3D. So what I do is I just pinch it, I bring it in, and then you can take this little excess flap of paper and just fold it in to lock it. So again on this side, you see this edge here, we're going to valley fold along that, and then bring it in on this top side to make the face 3D. And we look here, and we can fold this in to lock it. To keep the face from going like this, we can take this corner and just fold it in, and that will help to lock there. So again on this side, do the exact same thing. Make sure everything is staying in place. So now, once I make sure everything's locked in, the face is pretty much shaped, the body is pretty much shaped. You can add curvature here and there if you like, such as flattening the back like this. But other than that, and making sure everything stays together, your bowl is pretty much done. So here's a better look at the finished model. This was after I let it sit under some books for a while. If you use like some methyl cellulose or wood glue or something to shape it, you might be able to get some better curvature. It will probably splay a little less. But that's pretty much it. So I hope you like the model. I hope you're able to follow along okay. If you weren't, please let me know in the comments. I can try to help you out. And if you'd like to see tutorials for anything else, you can check out my Flickr and please let me know.